signal. Hi there, I have a fantastic project that I'm going to show you today. It's going to take your skills to a whole nother level. So stay tuned and watch this video. Now we're ready to thread the first bead onto the base. And these are top drilled Biwa Pearls. And we just run it down through here until we get to the bead stop. We're going to from left to right in a circular motion. So I'm just going to run the thread through the hole that is adjacent to the center and pull that down. Make sure the thread doesn't cross, making sure that the thread doesn't crisscross. I'll just put my finger there and pull that down, and there we have our first now it's left or right. I don't like the way that's lying there, so I'm going to take this back out of here and I'm going to run this through the hole that is right underneath that center, because I want the beads to lay in a circular motion from left to right. Okay, I've threaded my first bead on through the center, so now I'm going to go to the hole that is right below the center and pull the thread through. And that's the look you want. We want that to be leaning left to right because we're going to be going in a circular motion, and I'm going to continue to do this in a circular motion. So there's our first bead right there, and then I'm going to go in and run this through, and I usually pull this tight so that the bead is snug against the base. Now we're going to go to this next hole here, and thread on another bead. I'm going to make sure that you can see that. There we go. And pull it. I want to make sure you can see it. Okay, pull that down It's there. And now, because I'm going from left to right, I'm checking the hole that I pulled that through. Now I'm going to go down to the outer edge of the base and run this thread through there. Now I'm going to run this through the hole that is right next to that center. Okay, now we have our first 2 beads on there. And I'm going to continue on stringing these beads. Okay, so I am going to bring that thread up through this hole, which is right next to the hole where I attach the bead. This file line thread has a tendency to curl up, so you might have to straighten it out several times. Okay, let's see if we can find the right hole to run that through. All right. This is not a project that you can just whisk through. The first time I did this freehand, it took me about 5 hours to complete a set of earrings. Okay, so we have that here, and I'm just gonna attach the next bead. And I'm just sort of going around, making a round and attaching the beads. As you can see, now I'm gonna put another bead on. And it would be easier to use a needle. However, the beading needles that I had would not fit through the hole. That's why I'm just using the thread without the help of a needle. Okay. I think you see the pattern taking shape. Now we've got that on, and I'm going to run the thread through the hole right next to this bead. And be sure to just tighten the thread each time you put one of these beads on, and you complete the process of running it through the hole, running it through the bead, running it through the hole next to it. Okay, now, and I think you're getting the hang of it. Now I'm going to run through the hole that's adjacent to the bead that I just put on. and just follow along. Okay. And now we're going to string our next bead. And sometimes I do this so I can actually see where I put that thread. Sometimes it's trial and error, and if you see it's not looking the way you want it to, choose the next hole over that. You might have to skip a hole. It's all about the look that you want to accomplish. Yeah, there we are. Oops, that didn't go too well, did it? I ran it back through the same hole that I had initially threaded the bead on. That doesn't work. And make sure that the thread doesn't turn on you. Okay, there we go. So basically you're just skipping over a hole and going to the next hole, because the hole you skip over, like this is running through there, then I'm going to go to the next spot. It's only, the bead is only going to, once you tighten it up, it's just going to cover up that hole like that. Now here we go, attaching another bead. I'm just going to attach them off camera now because I think you get the idea. It's just easier for me to attach them off the camera. And as you can see, it's beginning to take shape. Sort of like a round robin, if you will. Now that just went through there. And here I'm going to go into the hole underneath this bead. And you just kind of have to feel the look. And when you're doing this project, if it doesn't look right or the bead is not where you feel it should be, it's okay to take or detach that bead, take that bead back out. And okay, get this out of the way. This is my tail from my anchor. Okay, stabilizing bead. Okay, there we are. And see, it's beginning to take shape. And just keep moving it around in whatever direction you start. That's the direction we want to keep going. If you're going from right to left, keep going that way. If you're going from left to right, just keep it moving in the same direction. And it's going to take 20 to 25 beads for this look. You can use more beads if you want. It will, give it a fuller look. But 20 to 25 beads max is what you'll need to do this project. Underneath this bead that is already attached. And that is how you're going to form that tight cluster. Because after you start putting these beads on, at some point you're going to have the next hole is going to be underneath the bead that's already attached. So you'll do that so that it's going to be tight, nice tight cluster. And in the future, I will do a different version of this where I use some gold plated crimp beads for an embellishment. That's going to be really beautiful. But in the meantime, we're going to continue with our project here. Now I'm going to the outer edge and I'll be attaching some beads around here. Making sure the thread doesn't get hung up on some of the other beads. You can use your finger as a guide to get that on through there. Okay. And here's another situation where I'm going to run this thread through the hole underneath the bead. And sometimes you just kind of have to gauge and feel this out so that you achieve that nice circular look that we're going for in this project. Trying to get that thread to feed through. There we go. And don't worry about these gaps. We will get them. Yeah, it's good to just keep periodically tightening up. This is not a project for the impatient. It takes a lot of patience to get this done. Now I'm going to do something a little different here because I want to put a bead here in this gap. So I'm going to go backwards just a little bit. And you might find yourself having to go backwards every once in a while as you fill these up and fill in the gaps. So that's what I'm doing here. Voila, the gap is filled. Done with the first phase. Look at that. All right, this earring is done, the first phase. Now, what I'm gonna do is, we started with a stopper bead, and we're gonna finish with one. This tiny little crystal. Gonna just run it up, thread that through, and then I'm gonna tie some knots to secure that. Okay, there's that first knot. This is the tail of the first stopper that I did. I'm going to tie another knot. I like to tie 3 knots. In the beginning, I did 2, but to finish this one off, I'm going to do 3 knots. Run them all the way down to that bead. Yeah. Here's the third knot. Okay, that's done. Get the tail to my stopper bead, and I'm going to take some GS Hypo Cement and put a little dab on both of these beads. And a little dab on the other bead here. And I'm going to let that dry. Then I'll clip the tails off, and then we will attach the base. Okay, this part is finished. Now I'm just going to snip these off. Snip these tails off here. Look at that. It's a nice looking earring. And next I am going to attach this. And the way I'm going to do this, first I'm going to examine this, and it's pretty much rounded. I have a little spot here, so I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to slide this on. As you can see, it fits right there. And then there's these little prongs that I'm going to close over. I have these lined up. You can see the little prongs there. And I'm just going to use some pliers. I think I'm going to use my longer nose pliers for this one. And just going to hold these beads back a little bit and push these prongs in. This is not as easy as it looks. Push this one in a little bit. Ah, there we go. That one's secure. Okay. Two out of 4. Now let's go over to number 3. I think I could just push that in between there. I may have to go back to that one. Okay, that one's done. And then I just position the beads back. Okay, so we've got them in. There's that one that was a little difficult, but it's pretty secure. And what I'm going to do to finish this off, because I do not want this to come apart, I am going to take some metal glue and seal the 2 parts together so that it will stay attached and it will not come apart. Once that metal glue is on there, it's not going anywhere. Now I'm going to try to push this 4th one in again. It's a little difficult. Let's try it. Get the beads out of the way. And there we go. So they're all done. All done. Look at that. And the final step for this project, I have some Aleene's premium quality jewelry metal glue that I'm going to put just around the seams here. Being careful not to get it on the beads, although it's probably not going to hurt the beads. I just want to make sure that I seal. It's going to dry clear. You want to be able to tell that it's done. Because you want to make sure that your pieces are very secure, and this metal glue is going to secure this earring. Now, there's the earring completed. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll make the second earring and I'll have a matched pair. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.